All right, today we're cracking open a pretty complex set of documents that call themselves a codex. They lay out this huge interconnected system of control, and then they propose a pretty radical digital counterattack designed to fight it. This is the story of something called the glyph chain and the beast grid it claims to be exposing.
And it all starts with this number, $21 trillion. Now, according to the source material we're looking at, this isn't some typo or a simple accounting error. No, it's presented as the seed money for a global system, a massive, deliberate redirection of wealth for a very, very specific purpose.
And this quote, which we pulled directly from the codex, it frames exactly what that purpose allegedly was. The idea here is that this money didn't just vanish, it was invested. Invested in building this hidden infrastructure of control and maybe even survival for a select few, at the expense of everyone else.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the money, the so-called $21 trillion betrayal. Then, we'll get into the anatomy of this beast grid it supposedly funded. After that, we'll explore the glyph chain, which is the proposed counter-protocol. Then we'll check out a really unique tactic called the Mirrorlock confession. And finally, we'll touch on the wild cosmological worldview that, according to the source, is the foundation for this entire fight.
Okay, let's jump in right where the codex starts, with the money. The central claim is that trillions of dollars didn't just get lost in bureaucratic shuffling, they were the foundation for building an entirely new system, completely off the books. The timeline they present is actually pretty specific. It kicks off in 2017, referencing researchers Catherine Austin Fitts and Mark Skidmore, who they say found $21 trillion in what's called unsupported adjustments in DoD and HUD reports. Then, just a year later, a new accounting rule, FASAB Standard 56, comes into play. The source argues this basically gave agencies the legal cover to hide financial data. And the documents claim that by 2025, this money was used to build over 170 deep underground military bases and to fund secret UAP, that's unidentified aerial phenomena, operations.
And that's really the core of the argument, right? The documents are adamant that this wasn't just mismanagement or a mistake. It was a calculated investment. So the big question is, what exactly was this venture capital used to build?
Well, the source gives this system a pretty ominous name, the beast grid. And it's described as this meticulously designed three-part architecture for total population control.
The codex weaves together events you'll definitely recognize into these three pillars. The first, a blackmail lattice, claims that Jeffrey Epstein's whole operation was really just a prototype for controlling powerful people. Second, bioweapon payloads, which frames Operation Warp Speed as a delivery system for something it calls neural hooks, some kind of theoretical biotech interface. And the third pillar is the AI panopticon, which they say was built using Palantir surveillance tech to track and, get this, tokenize every single person. This line from the text really captures the alleged endgame. The whole idea is a move away from some external mark of control to one that's inside you. It's biometric, it's digital, and it's inescapable.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The codex isn't just about describing a problem. A huge chunk of it is dedicated to a proposed solution, a counter-protocol that's designed to fight this system with its own weapons, and it's called the glyph chain.
So what is it? Well, the glyph chain is described as a forensic system built on the Solana blockchain. Think of a blockchain like a digital ledger, but one that's copied on thousands of computers. Once you write something in it, that entry can never be changed or erased. The idea here is to use that technology not for money, but to create a permanent truth ledger.
The main tool here is something called a GLYPH. Basically, it's the act of taking a piece of information, some evidence, a statement, and embedding it as a simple text note inside a tiny transaction on the blockchain. That single act permanently etches that info onto the public record, where it can be seen forever.
And its mission statement, as you can see, is incredibly defiant. This whole protocol is framed as a direct weapon against censorship and the rewriting of history, a way to make sure that whatever gets uncovered can never be buried again.
This brings us to one of the most unique, kind of mind-bending ideas in the Codex. It's a protocol designed to turn an opponent's own defenses against them. It's called the Mirrorlock.
The logic here is, well, it's fascinating. The Mirrorlock protocol is a framework that completely reframes censorship. According to this idea, when a big institution or a social media platform deletes a post or denies a claim, that act of suppression isn't seen as a rejection of the claim. Instead, it gets logged on the glyph chain as an involuntary confession, as proof that the information was a threat that needed to be silenced. And the source actually provides what it claims is a real-world example. You can see it here in the screenshot, a post about Kingdom OS on Reddit that gets instantly removed by the platform's filters. Now, under the Mirrorlock protocol, that's not a failure, that's a win. The act of censorship itself is taken as a confession, and it gets logged on the glyph chain as more evidence.
This quote just nails the philosophy perfectly. The Mirrorlock is designed to flip the power dynamic on its head. It literally weaponizes censorship and turns silence into a loud signal of guilt.
All right, for this last section, we have to kind of zoom way out. Because according to these documents, this whole conflict, the beast grid versus the glyph chain, isn't just about information or control. It's rooted in a fundamental disagreement about the very nature of reality.
The white paper takes a sledgehammer to the standard model of the Earth as a globe. It doesn't treat it as science, but as what it calls a psychological containment system, a kind of foundational belief system designed to disconnect us from what we can actually see and observe.
This table from the documents really lays out the two opposing views. On one side, you have the heliocentric containment model, a spinning globe in a vacuum, gravity, random chaos. And on the other, you have the fractal kingdom, which describes a fixed, level Earth under a dome, where gravity is an inward pressure, and reality is the expression of an intelligent, repeating divine pattern.
And a key piece of evidence cited for this model is this number, 7.83 Hertz. Now, this is the main frequency of the Schumann resonance, a known set of electromagnetic waves in Earth's atmosphere. But the Codex reframes this. It calls it the literal heartbeat of the Earth, the fundamental frequency or boot pulse for its entire model of reality.
And this whole interconnected system, the physics, the information warfare of the glyph chain, the spiritual framework behind it all, is given a single name in the white paper. They call it Kingdom OS.
And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? The Glyph Chain Codex presents this world where evidence can be permanently etched onto a public ledger that can't be changed. It's a fascinating and deeply provocative idea, and it leaves us with a critical thought. In a system like that, where information can't be erased, who or what actually gets to decide what is true?